Hey guys, Movie Junkie for Life here again, and this is going to be my review of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. And I really hope I don't have to say that again because it's a mouthful. This one is directed by Tim Burton, and it stars Eva Green, and I think the guy's name is Asa Stofield, and a couple other faces. Judy Dench is in this as well. And it's the story of a boy whom his grandfather, played by the awesome Terrence Stamp, used to tell him these stories about kids with abilities. And that there was a school that they would go to that would keep them safe. I know it sounds like a ripoff of Xavier's Academy, but what you gonna do? Anyway, he ends up finding out that the school is real, and he finds his way to it. And of course, he being the hero, his destiny is tied to that of the school. So Tim Burton. Tim Burton is a director that I have loved since I understood what being a director meant or is. He has a very unique style, a unique vision, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm happy to say most times it works for me. And there are movies of his that I've adored growing up, and even though recently his most recent stuff hasn't been that great for me. For instance, Dark Shadows was a bit of a letdown for me. Also, Planet of the Apes was it was just no. Thank God for the new Planet of the Apes movies. And there are those that I just kind of liked a little bit, like Frank and Weenie behind me there, who I kind of regret buying that beanie because he kind of freaks me out a little bit. He's staring at me, right? He's staring at me. Anyway, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. Let's talk about what I liked. First of all, it's the visuals. Like I said, this is Tim Burton, and he has a very unique and distinct visual style. And here it worked perfectly. It really worked well. You know, sometimes his visual style kind of sticks out. Here it fit perfectly in the time frame. This movie is supposed to be I think like the 1940s, right about the time of the World War. And the style, the costumes, everything like that, I really liked a lot. Eva Green here, I adore this woman. I have such a girl crush on her, and she's perfect here. The way she speaks, she kind of speaks really fast and really precise, and she's very prim and proper, but in a kind of a mischievous way. It works really well here. She was made for this type of role. I really can't picture anybody else in this role, and she's one of the best parts of the movie. The children as well, I really liked a lot of these abilities. They were weird, and like I said, I mean, you will make the comparison against Xavier's school, but at the same time, while there are kids who are like pyros and that kind of thing, that is a minor. The majority of these kids are what most people might want to call freaks. Like you have that girl with the mouth at the back of her head. You have the twins whose face you never see until the very end. You have kids with these kind of abilities. There's a boy who he can animate dead items, so to speak. It's very Burton-esque, and I loved it, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Again, if you see me looking, I'm looking at my laptop, sorry about that. This story as well draws some parallels to me. At least I picked up on some parallels of the war and the Holocaust. I mean, even the names of the bad guys, they're called Hollows. And I don't know why I kept feeling like he was trying to draw some parallels, because these are kids who don't fit in anywhere, and there are people hunting them and trying to kill them and destroy them, so they have to be hidden away. There was a lot of that going on during the World War One and Two, where, you know, Jews had to go into hiding, and because they were deemed quote unquote different, you know, they were being destroyed by this evil entity. So I saw those parallels there, and I thought that was a really unique way of fitting that in there. Samuel L. Jackson as the villain. You know what? Sam Jackson does Sam Jackson really well. You know, it's his fallback when he doesn't really have much of a, I guess maybe he doesn't have a lot to do with the character. He falls back on his own charm and his own wit to pull off a character, and he does that here. So his character, I mean, it's just this evil dude with a really, they seek immortality. You know, I'm sorry if I'm giving away anything here, but they seek immortality, he and his cronies. And just the way they go about it, it's weird, but I'll get into that in my dislikes, right? So overall, I really enjoyed this movie. I enjoyed it visually. I enjoyed the themes that he was trying to go for. And I think once again, he does a good job of drawing you in visually to his story, you know, keeping your eyes on the screen on what's going on. There's always something interesting going on. And that brings me to my dislikes now. My main dislike, unfortunately, is a big one, and that's in the main hero. The character, I'm trying to remember his name. I can't remember his name right now, but just to tell you, I think it's Jake or Jack or something like that. The thing is that he's portrayed as a guy who he's kind of cowardly naturally. He's not a fighter. And that's okay. We've seen stories like that before, where you have a character who he, of course, has to evolve and find his strength and so forth and so on. The problem is here, we have so many more interesting side characters that his story kind of falls by the wayside. I'm not really interested in his journey, and I'm supposed to be invested in him. We, as an audience, we're supposed to be experiencing this story through his eyes, and yet I don't connect with him because maybe I don't feel like I'm that big a coward, you know. And he himself, even though he has an ability, to me it really wasn't that amazing. It's important, but visually it wasn't an appealing ability, and he himself, he just comes across as so weak, and he's always, you know, questioning this and questioning that, he really is not the draw. I would have liked to see more of what was going on with these kids, where they came from, who they were, especially the kids like the little girl, I think her name is Brom, who could like lift really, really heavy objects. You know, she was such a little badass. She reminded me of Toph in Avatar. And then there was the twins, who, when I finally saw what their ability was, I was like blown away. I want to know more. I want to know where these kids came from, who they really were, you know, all these sorts of things. They were more interesting to me. Not even the love story, the girl who is lighter than air, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. The girl who has pyrokinetic abilities. The thing is, I've seen that in X-Men. I've seen that in Firestarter. I've seen that 100 times before. I want something different, and there were kids here who had abilities that were very intriguing, and I wish we had saw more of that. This story also is a bit confusing. It feels very disjointed at times, and it's a little hard to follow. I was picking up on plot holes that had me like, once you introduce time travel, you tend to find a lot of plot holes in stories, you know. It's always a tricky subject, and I found those types of plot holes here, and I found these types of disconnects in the story itself that made it a little hard to follow this story. It wasn't as straightforward. I don't know, I've never read the book or any of the books. Maybe I will now, but I don't know if it's told a little, it's explained a little better in the story, but there's some elements here that just confused me or felt disconnected, and it made it a little hard to follow exactly what was going on. So overall, this movie, did I enjoy it? I think I'm gonna say yes. I definitely loved it more than Dark Shadows, even more than Alice in Wonderland, and Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorite childhood stories. I would say that this movie, it's a good movie. If you're a fan of Burton, you're gonna find a lot of things to really enjoy about this movie. The visuals, the sounds, the songs, the costumes. These are things that will all draw you in as a fan of Tim Burton. But the story is very disconnected, and it's not well told. The main character, I just couldn't connect with him because, you know, he didn't have that much to offer. He was just, he was too much of a wimp. you know, and there were so many other more interesting characters around him that I wanted to know their story. I didn't really care about his. So overall, I'm gonna give Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children a 6.5 out of 10. Do I recommend checking it out in cinemas? Sure, why not? If you're a Burton fan, definitely. Don't watch it cam or streamed right now, because I mean it's gonna be a horrible looking copy. You're just not gonna see the beauty of it. So, you know, go watch it in cinemas, or if not, wait till it comes out in HD and check it out then. But Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children gets a 6.5 out of 10 from me. Okay guys, till next time. Bye bye. Say bye bye. Yeah. Creepy.